That is rote learning.
Okay.
Or memorization.
What do you mean by that?
I see a lot of candidates, especially beginners, trying to memorize all of the frameworks and do mental math until they are human calculators because they think that that's what interviewers will look for.
Right, and they even
interviews.
memorize fractions, like what is 12 divided by 7, so they're a little bit faster.
Yeah, so they think that those fraction of seconds are going to help them in some way. And the truth is, I think that these people don't really understand what a case interview is. I think that maybe they've inherited from school a belief that memorization and getting to right answers and answering A in the right question where the answer is A or whatever will get them in. But the truth is, a case interview is very good at emulating the consulting job. And so interviewers are looking for the skills that will help you in the consulting job. And they're most definitely not memorization of frameworks or super quick mental math.
Right. It's all about how you think, right? Because if they had a problem that could be, if the clients had a problem that could be solved through memorization of frameworks, like your clients went to MBAs as well. Right?
Yeah, they would be able to memorize those frameworks.
Yeah.
And if they weren't, they would simply hire the consulting firm, and the consulting firm would hire someone much cheaper than the consultants that they're hiring.
Exactly.
So that they're just memorizers.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of these rote learning patterns, like especially with frameworks, like, oh, I need to learn a framework for market entry cases.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it happens in the beginning because you need some scaffolding to be able to do the case. Right? So I want to do some cases, but I don't know yet how to create my own frameworks because this is a fairly advanced skill, creating your own structures that are messy, that are insightful, that are effective. So they scaffold around this skill, kind of like riding a bike with side wheels.
Yeah.
So they do that so they can do the mock interview and they can experience the mock interview.
Yeah.
And then they tell themselves that they will learn how to do this without memorization later. But the problem is then they hear these experts like, oh, you just need to memorize my 5 frameworks or whatever, and you'll be fine. And then it's too good to be true. But when you're stressed, short on time, sometimes you listen to these too good to be true types of advice.
Yeah.
And
you buy them.
Yeah.
Yeah. You believe them.
Yeah.
It feels comfortable.
It feels comfortable. Now, I think the thing to realize is everyone's using these materials. Interviewers do interviews hundreds of times per day, and they're looking for people who can think through new problems or through the nuances and specificities of problems that are fairly common. So when you use a memorized framework, for example, even if you adapt it a little bit, like 10, 20%, your interviewers seeing that specific framework dozens and dozens of times before, perhaps even with the last candidate that they've interviewed. And they're specifically avoiding people who do that because they want people who can think from first principles, right? So it's one of the reasons why McKinsey is using so much public sector cases in the past 5 or 10 years. They didn't used to do that. But they keep changing their cases so that the traditional frameworks don't work. Because they don't want people who just do this rote learning thing. And even interviewers at other firms, they also have their specific ways of twisting the case so that the normal framework won't work. So like I've seen cases at Bain and BCG where like on a superficial level, it's like, oh, it's just a regular market entry case. But when you dig into it, into the industry, into the specific constraints of the client, you see that the regular market entry frameworks that you see online, they don't work for that market entry case. And they do that on purpose.